Hi Ashutosh, good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, so let's start. Let's not worry about who, what, and whatever. Let's take a natural death and a forced death, suicide. Okay. There are nine holes in the body. Two eyes, there's a hole. 2 ears is a hole. Two portions of the nose, one mouth, and two holes in the private parts. One is in the back and on the front. Totally becomes nine hole golf course if I were to use that. Okay. Now, the consciousness, when it it appears through here. If you've seen the baby, it will be breathing from here, and this will be very weak. If somebody were to hit it or something were to hit it so hard, it will die. So, until the 6 months to 8 months of its birth, this will be the skull is not completely grown, it is still growing. A soft bone rather than a hard bone. So the consciousness enters from here. The objective is to remove the consciousness from there, and there's no rebirth. But if the consciousness were to come from any other apertures, any other place, it generally leads to rebirth. Now, in a when you take any animal or anything at all, there are two things happen. So if we take mammals, a first thing which happens is that the consciousness comes through the placenta, and then you can see the heartbeat happening, and that is at the navel. So there are three centers if we could take it. One is the this center, and heart is another center. So many things which happens in our life affects our heart, so you can feel it. There's a kind of either expansion or contraction depending upon the object of the senses, the heart. A third one is the navel. Navel is the one where the consciousness has stayed for the long time. So the conscious experience, or what we call as gut feeling, is the navel, and hence it is called gut, butterfly in the stomach. We say gut feeling or intuition basically comes from that consciousness where the head and the heart don't interfere. Okay. Now, in a normal death, what happens here is that the ayu, what we can call as ayu as the life provider, usma is the prana basically, or the body heat or the heat as such, and the vijnana, consciousness. The three come together, but at that time they dissipate. It dissipate either because of the ayu or due to the prana. When Buddha says panati pata veramani sikkapadam samadhiyami, it is talking about the middle one, usma, prana. So when I am trying to harm myself or harm others, what's happening here is that I'm disregarding the pana. When the recording is on, this is the consciousness. So whatever I'm doing through the mental volition gets recorded in the consciousness. The fear, if at all, of death is stored in the conscious experience. That we call it as an subconscious, unconscious experience. So if there is a fear, the fear is manifesting in the unconscious mind because it has registered. That experience has been registered. Now, sometimes when I'm not doing anything, this unconscious experience will top up into a subconscious experience. I might start to fear suddenly. the light goes off and I start, because I have been strangled to death in some life when there were no lights, or at the time of death, I only saw darkness. I couldn't see anything. So my mind is held on to that experience, but mind in the sense, the Ayu Usma Vinyana, the Vinyana has held on to that experience because it has stored it. So some people like darkness, but some people don't like darkness. If there's dark, pitch dark, immediately there is hair rising experience. Because when a person dies and they've seen darkness, that means they're confused where they're going, then the hairs will rise. Yes, Aryu.
Quick question. In this infinite long rebirth cycle of ours, I'm sure we have all died in those kind of situations, right? But I'm wondering what's the difference here? Is it the vicinity of these experiences that, or how much you had those, and why
It's
some people?
always random. What will come out is a random experience. So you can't really say what triggers what. We can only go through Patisamutpada rather than going through those experiences. So I can't say unconscious experience what I can produce right now. I have no idea. Why? Because it has to have a condition. If the condition matches, the unconscious experience automatically becomes conscious. Let's say there is no trigger. Everything is good. Yes. But
Yeah, I know. Like for example, spiders. There's just a certain percentage of human that's really afraid of it, like something like 10% or something like that. So they're just have a really different reaction than the other ones. I'm just curious.
no, because of the see, any other insect or serpents, lizards, cockroach, so to whatever beings we have, including tiger, lion, and all that, and dogs, cats. There are people who are scared of cats. There are people who are scared of dogs. There are people who are scared of mouse. There are people who are scared of butterflies. There are people who are scared of ants. There are people who are scared of. That means this scared of is a problem. Is a aspect of the Mara. So if the 10 Maras, Bhiru is aspect of Mara. Okay. On that, the word Marana has come. Okay. So Marana is death. Mara is dead. Mara is one who brings in death through the six sense doors. So we cannot really say which sense door experience is covered by which consciousness. We can only say the conscious experience is there, but actually it's not a one single conscious experience. It is from that door what is experienced. Some people have, they can see, no problem, but they can't hear. If they hear some creaking sound, they get fear. But when they see that animal making that sound, they don't feel anything. Right? Like my wife, she has a scare for lizard. But if that lizard is doing, like Ashutosh has a lizard at his home. So many times when recording, that lizard's making sound, but she doesn't feel perturbed. But the look of it, she has a problem. So your question is nice, Aryu, but we can't really say which one you have registered. Only when the condition comes, that manifests from that sense door. Some people have no fear of snake, but to go near they have a fear, to touch they have a fear, but otherwise they don't have. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm it's just kind of overall question that I have, because it sounds like from beginningless we would have all sorts of experiences, right? So technically everything could be a trigger. So it just really depends on the condition of.
Exactly. So instead of going like that and getting caught up ourselves in a different discussion, what we need to know is if the trigger is going to happen only if the condition matches. Even the death is a conditioned event. The Ayu, the Usma has gone. So the Vijnana cannot stay. Simple. Right? There ends Mahavedala Sutta. Now, what about suicide? What is suicide? What is there to suicide? Suicide is an act of ending the Ayu much before the Ayu could be ended. Ending the prana before the prana can be exhausted. But if the Ayu and Usma cannot be there, the Vijnana cannot be there either as a natural death or as a forced death. Now we might ask a question. What happens to the 9 doors, apertures? In a usual death also, as well as a suicidal death, the 9 doors will close. If not, the being can re-enter. So what we say, he went to the doctor and they gave some fluid and he vomited and he was back. What is back means that one of the door was open, the Vijnana was able to come back, and when it comes back, the Ayu is anyways there. Is forcefully ending it. So it's a failed suicidal attempt. If Ayu is there, the prana is there. He strangled the prana. So the asapasa was not able to happen. And the circulation stopped. The circulation stops, the heartbeat stops. When the heartbeat stops, the brain is incapable of doing anything because it requires maximum oxygen for survival. And the power is not there. There's nothing to power on the brain. So the first equipment to fail is the brain. But heart is an involuntary muscle. So it will keep on beating irrespective of the person is brain dead. Okay. So now the Vijnana connects everything. So to connect that, it requires the cable to be properly laid. Right? So the electricity has to go everywhere. That's Vijnana. Now if the one of the aperture is open, it will come back. So when the consciousness comes back, the equipment starts working. That is, let's say the computer had a misconnection, rather the motherboard, one of the soldering thing had come out. So solder it and power on. It's working. But the Ayu is there. What if the Ayu was not there? Nothing you can do. What if the prana is not there? Prana is dependent on the Ayu, so it cannot stay. So everything is dependent on the Ayu. So Ayu, Usma, Vijnana. Now when a person wants to commit suicide, first comes these thoughts. That means thoughts of ending. So he should get into a condition, that is, from the unconscious existence, it has to come to a subconscious mind, either through drugs or through some, let's say, black magic or whatever we can call that as. So we don't know what all rituals are involved in it. So that's the reason it's called black. And if it works, it becomes magic because we don't know how it works. But the beings who have been called will do the act. Let's say, if there is a being, there are a lot of beings in this room presently as I speak, but they are those beings who are wanting Buddha Dhamma or Dhamma. Forget Buddha Dhamma. They are wanting something to listen to because they all have listening ability. The first thing to come is listening, and the last thing to go in death is also listening. Of all the 6 senses, Sota is the one which retains for a long time. So, Gandha and Sota are the two things which are required, and hence it's called Gandhabba because it can smell. So, Gandha and the Sota are going to be there. The Chakku, the Jivha, Kaya, Mano is yet to develop. But Sota and the Gandha are going to be there. So, the beings which are here presently in this room are those who are not going to influence me to commit suicide. Now, may I ask a question? How would they convince me to commit suicide? Well, first I should be in that state of mind. Now, how will I go to that state of mind? I should have akusala to get into that state of mind. Okay. Now, how do I get akusala? I should have michhaditti in that case. Now, how do I get into michhaditti? Because I don't know the importance of life. And how do I don't know the importance of life? Because I am deluded totally. How did I get deluded totally? Because I was in a deluded state of existence some other time. So the Vijnana job is to connect everything from everywhere. So now that's what I'm telling you, Aryu, is that you can't really pinpoint and say this triggered that. But when the situation comes, it triggers. So now what happens is that the unconscious, what we call unconscious, becomes a real conscious thing. And the conscious experience, which is a conditioned experience in this life, get erased. Now, I am Vilas is a conscious experience. It's not an unconscious experience. In unconscious, there's no Vilas. Absolutely not there. Non-existent. If it is there in subconscious, no. Even in subconscious, there's nothing called Vilas exists. All that exists in the subconscious is Raga, Dvesha, Moha in various degrees. So when I see something, the trigger is happening from subconscious, but the picking up of that is happening in the unconscious. So wait for a second before you ask the question. Hold on. So the unconscious experience, if it becomes conscious, triggers whenever whatever was there at whatever time frame this event had occurred. To me, that life is so depressing, in life is not worth leading on to. And that thought comes either due to drugging, either due to alcohol, or either due to black magic, either due to influence from friends or relatives or job, or so there should be some trigger.
Could it also,
Pardon?
could it also be hypnosis or something like that?
I'm going to come to that. So now there should be some influence. When I am under influence, meaning when the unconscious mind gets conscious and the conscious mind disappears, now it is like a darkness area. What we can call it the devil in the mind, because we don't know what that condition was. Because I am a sane person right now because of two things. I am sane because of the condition, that is this room, the beings here, the house environment here, everything is making me very sane, not insane. And the discussion what I am doing, what the Dhamma I am reading and all that, making me more and more sane. That means only those beings who are in this line can affect me. There's no other being which can affect me. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I did not catch that, but why does it has to be an influence? I mean, we can have any kind of thought, right?
But
why
there is
do you,
any kind of thought will come, but there is an influencing factor. Either the What you're seeing, tasting, touching, smelling
Yeah.
has an influence there.
Yeah.
Sixth
Let's
sense,
say you see a report say true or positive, and that just trigger fear or whatever, and then out of that fear, you want to commit suicide or something like that. I mean, there's not necessarily a bean or alcohol or like that.
no, it's then all the cancer patient by now should have committed suicide, and then you didn't require a cancer treatment at all. It's not like that. It's
But
definitely
I
not
mean,
like that. What I'm saying is, just because somebody saw a report, he's not going to commit suicide unless his mind goes into an unconscious existence.
isn't a lot of our reaction coming from unconscious
No,
anyways?
that's what. See, the problem you're focusing on is like cut and dry. There's nothing called cut and dry, right? It can be through your conscious. It can be sometimes through your subconscious. It can be sometimes only through unconscious. It can be only through conscious, because you have so much of conscious things that you don't require to get into an unconscious or a subconscious existence. And it also depends on the person, his upbringing, his way of living, what he is experiencing. There's so many factors, are you. So we
Yeah.
can't really standardize. We
Yeah.
can't make it into a watertight compartments and saying that, oh, this triggered this and this triggered this. That's the reason Buddha never got into this. Hold on. He just says paticca samutpada. He doesn't go into these kind of argumentative things because of useless things to have. What we need to know is that there are two influences. One is an external influencing factor, and one is an internal influencing factor. I can give you a good example. Let's say I never had alcohol in my life, and one of my friend is asking, just have a drink. It's a good one. Made out of barley. And just fermented barley. Nothing is going to happen to you. So I have first drink. What is happening? The conscious, that is the conscious mind, is trying to pick up something from a subconscious mind, and that is triggering into the unconscious mind. If in the subconscious and unconscious, never ever this alcohol had drunk, that person will puke. He will not be able to enjoy the alcohol. Forget alcohol. He drinks too. He say, "Oh, what a kind of drink you are asking me to drink," and he will never drink in his life. Period. Now, when I drink one, and I feel I'm pausing because I'm thinking. That thinking is going where? It's going into subconscious. In the subconscious, there is the taste. Has picked up the taste. He keeps it there. Then his friend asks, "How is it?" Not really making out. Oh, okay. I think if you by the time you finish this glass, you like it. Then again, I take all in my drinking. I am actually going into the subconscious state, and in the subconscious, I get the taste. Now that subconscious to the conscious is a connection. It didn't have to go to unconscious. Whereas in the subconscious, it's not registered. Yep. Then wait. So then I keep it back. I say that no, I didn't like it. Next time he calls me to the bar. This time I don't say no. I don't say no and coming. I go. And I go. There's an influence. Who influenced? Unconscious influenced the subconscious, and the subconscious influenced the conscious. Now I consciously want to go because he's my friend. He's asking me to come to the bar. So I sit in the bar. He says, Vilas, have this. I say, last time I had, I didn't like it. Try it. No. One glass will do, but I don't think so I'll be able to drink one glass also. You see, you saw, right? Then he'll say, Vilas, same thing happened with me. It took me 2, 3 times, and then I started liking it. Ah, okay, maybe what he says makes sense, because in everything in life, if you were to drink tea or coffee or anything, it's not the first time you like it. It might take time. Now, the unconscious existence becomes active. This time when I drink, I don't have to think too much, because now the taste is coming from an unconscious existence, maybe from whichever life it was in or whatever I had done. That taste is picked up. Taste of what? Not the beer. Taste of fermentation, alcohol, sura. That taste is picked up. That's infinite, right? When that taste comes up, if there was a liking for the taste, the likingness comes up because of the Vedana. Okay? Because now the perception is, I am liking it. So there is this sanya. And because of the Vedana and the sanya, there is tanha, craving for that experience. When I drink, it becomes light and I'm enjoying it. So you might ask me a question, who is influenced? Right now, my own influence from my past. But I'm not realizing my friend is as much influencing me as much as I am getting influenced. So from just a glass, I have taken 1 pint. And from a pint, I have come to a bottle. And from one bottle, I have come to 3, 4 bottles of beer. Now I become an adept drinker. Now, also, we need to see, like my friend, there are other beings who are equally inquisitive in drinking this. So when a right time comes, that's the reason they say that you shouldn't spend in a not to go to places. Even in Buddha Dhamma, if you look at some suttas, he says you shouldn't frequent those places until you are arhat. That means you have conquered everything. You shouldn't go to those places which induces. What is this induction? It's an external induction, not an internal induction. Now what happens here? After 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., generally 12 to 4 is a period when the beings becomes active. If you were to meditate from 12 to 4, again you get a best of the experience. 2 to 4, something like that. Okay? If you want to have a bad experience, the same thing can happen. Now I take drug or I take alcohol, I take sex, these things which can trigger passion. The unconscious can be stirred easily. So when the unconscious experience internally is stirred, it stirs up the beings which can influence in a much better way. So let's say somebody has learned the art of black magic. He can influence much easy. Why? Because he can interact with the beings. Now I want somebody to die. What I can do is I can make this being influence that person's mind in that time frame. So what happens? Wait. The person gets into hallucination first. That means his conscious mind is removed. Subconscious mind is a hallucinating mind. Very dangerous mind, because you don't know, you don't have any foundation there. If you fall down, you are in unconscious and there's nothing conscious about it. So generally, alcohol and drugs make you go into the ride. What they call as LSD ride is nothing but psychedelic drug ride. Is nothing but into the subconscious existence, and that takes you into the unconscious. When you get into unconscious, somebody has to make you conscious. Otherwise, there is no way you can come out of it. So if I take ayahuasca or I take LSD, I take marijuana, I take brown sugar, I take whatever that kind of drugs which are available, it changes the psyche, and that's hence the reason it's called psychedelic. It changes my reasoning ability. So the default mode network, what I'm running with, is no longer available. That means the conscious experience is no longer available. It's only either subconscious or unconscious experience. And here is where the beings can influence. Can be a friend, can be the beings which we can't see, can be a suicidal tendency which I already have, or can be some pain which I'm encountering because in a lot of ayahuasca people who have had in the Latin America or wherever they go and drink it, not everybody had a good experience of it because they have, some of them have got lost. So it is up to the shaman to really wake that person up after a while. Otherwise, that person is in a ride. Same thing with LSD. Somebody has to help that guy. Otherwise, he's in his own world. Now, when the person gets into his own world, what is it? Is it is getting into an unconscious existence? He's made an unconscious experience as conscious experience. Now, if that tendency was already there, this is influencing him, then and other beings also influencing. So now he starts to hallucinate. And most of the experiences are hallucinating experiences, which are fearful because the fear is already there in the unconscious. It's already recorded. Every death of ours is an unconscious yet conscious experience. That means as long as we have six sense doors and as long as we have died using the six sense doors, we have had an unconscious experience. Yes, Aryu, now it's your time. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't plan to go to much detailed debate and all that. I mean, what you describe as drinking and this conscious friends influence, subconscious, unconscious, seem to me that it's a fairly general, right? It's a fairly general process.
No, it is
I
not.
guess.
It is
Oh,
not. It is not. You have to think it over. It's a very specific to that person's conscious. It affects his psyche. It looks very generic because I'm making it look generic, but it is not. A person, most of your decision making from the day till the night is driven by conscious. You get conscious. Sometimes you get unconscious. Sometimes you get in a subconscious existence. So if you start noting it down, you take a book, start noting it down, you will come to know how many unconscious experiences you have, how many subconscious and how many conscious. Yes, go ahead.
maybe let me explain. I didn't mean. I mean, in generic meaning, it can happen to drinking a tea or coffee or wine or anything that you do or play hockey or it's generic in that sense. Is that right? What you describe as a
No, no,
generic.
no. It is only mind modifying things. And that's the reason Buddha says, Sura Mereya Majjapa Madda Thana Veramani. Otherwise, hockey, he could have added sports and everything in that, right?
Let's say piano, same, right? You would like it if you have heard
No,
or
no,
played.
then Natcha Gita, that is part of it. It's not nothing to do with Sura Mereya Majjapa Madda Thana.
Right, but I'm saying those things would have unconscious influence as well.
It
And
doesn't have a negative influence like the drug, like the alcohol, like the fame and name, like the pamad.
okay. I guess my main question is because you specifically brought up these influences. I'm just wondering, in general, this suicide it's more likely to be influenced than not, right? Than other things. Among all things, suicide is more likely to be influenced by some of these things than
Suicide
other.
is influenced by four things only. Number one, the fear. Okay, some fear which is inside that person, totally locked. And due to some influence, it is let out. That is the second one you take is some modifying thing which can modify. It can be a drug, can be alcohol, can be whatever, right? Whatever which will make the mind lose itself, right? Third one, heedlessness, meaning when you make friends, you are very heedless. You don't know what kind of friends, what kind of people you are making them influence, especially when there is a love life. You are torn apart of being a normal, not normal, being a sensible person. You get lost in that. Let's say I love someone, I get, that's the reason it's called a mad love, madly in love. That means there's can't be any logic to that, right? You can't ask that guy, hey, tell me, how did you love? He can't answer because it is a factor where no senses are in its control. That means it gets into a subconscious state of mind, not the conscious. As long as you are conscious, are you, okay, you will not do certain things. But as soon as the conscious is removed away, you will start doing things which you wouldn't have done. Yes.
Okay, I got it. So you mean the suicide is specifically something that you normally wouldn't do when you're very conscious, and that's why you bring up influences.
And that's
But
the reason, and that's the reason in medical they say that if you find somebody has a tendency of suicide, don't leave that person alone. Why? Because it will trigger. The loneliness triggers them to do something. Okay. So if you are able to change his mind in the last moment, he will not do it. Because he becomes conscious. Once he becomes conscious, back in the game. Yes.
but other kind of a kusala, let's say stealing or telling lies, those are less much
No, you're
influence.
taking. Why do you take something I don't understand? So suicide is a tendency of ending one's life. Stealing, fucking, and all those things are have got nothing to do with this.
No, I'm just asking about the
See, you should change the mind. See, I don't know. There is this mind change should happen.
Okay, got it.
Mind change should happen for the worse, not for the good. Like just like I want to get into Dhamma, mind is getting changed to the good, right? That means it is letting go of many things. That is, it is working on akusala tendencies. It's there, but it's coming out of it. Whereas these things take you to the dark. It's vyapada. Actually, you're stepping down, basically going down and down and down. How do you go down? That's the reason there's one sutta where Buddha talks about effect of Suramere Majjapamaddatthana because it removes the sati itself. Is the person aware when he's drunk? Any person who is drunk is not aware. When he's not aware, basically he doesn't know what he's doing. Anything can come. So when anything can come, what thing will come? Only these things will come. Nothing else will come. Because you have removed the sati itself. Now, coming back to this suicide thing, is that why a person committing suicide is because he's seeing negativity in life. If he was seeing positivity in life, he would have attained nibbana rather than getting into this suicide, right? Both are same. Here he's ending journey, and an arhat he would have enjoyed his time here and he would have gone. It's taking him on a negative route. When he goes into the negative route, it should cause him even more pain. So he will experience pain. Not about pain of death. Even the thought of suicide comes because of helplessness of the pain what he's undergoing. It's a domanasa, which in English called depression. So first the person goes into first level depression, then he goes to second level depression wherein he starts hallucinating. Then he goes to the third level depression where he starts tormenting. That means somebody is coming and hitting me and all that. So there's a torment. The fourth one is a tendency to say that either me or that. And now we can say what triggers. This can be loss of money, but he start doing something of that. So it will bring him into a negative tendency which is already stored. So he might be drinking, he might be taking drugs, he might be on influence with his co-partner. Let us say a girl is there who is influencing him. Let's say she says that I don't want to marry you. I already found another person. He's madly in love, which is an influencing factor. So there are two kinds of influence, is what I'm trying to say: the internal influence and external influence. Yes.
What you said reminds me of some like European country or whatever. They have these, death program for people who are in chronic pain or old and cannot move. So some people I see they're even are kind of in a happy state of mind. They sing goodbye to their friends and all that, and then do this. Is that different from this suicide you're talking about? Because that's also ending a life prematurely.
That they are trying to end the pain, which is at dying moment they'll have a pain, so which is equivalent to suicide. See, Aryu, it might look happy, but he's in depression. Without getting depressed, nobody can end their life. Just think it over. First and foremost, you should be triggered by depression, meaning you should have do manasa completely taken over. You are pulled out from what you possessed, right? And then only the trigger will come. If you voluntarily give up, you are very happy. Then why should you end your journey? Simple. Just think. See, if you are giving upadana for anything, there's no need to commit suicide, because the vijnana gets extinguished then and there. Here, the vijnana is getting extinguished by force through ayu and prana, or the usma being removed forcefully. Think, Haryu, not about instantly looking at everything in a watertight, but keep on reflecting, and then you will come to know, yeah, this triggers this, and this triggers this, and this triggers this. Now, coming to this issue, what we are talking, if you were to restrict only to that, it is trigger which is negative. No suicide is positive. Okay? There's nowhere in the history ever somebody's commit suicide because he was very happy of committing it. It is something which didn't work. Either he is drugged and he died, or he was under influence of something and he died, or his girlfriend or boyfriend gave pain which he could not take it any longer and he died, or the divorce couldn't happen in the way he thought, he died, or the children started ill treating and then he couldn't take it and he died, something like that, right? Something or the other which is negative will trigger a suicidal tendency. If it is positive, it's not. So now what happens to that individual who is dead? What is his destiny? It's a painful destiny, because he's inflicted pain, and what should ensure is that a pain. So when he's, even if he's were to be reborn as a human, he starts his life with much pain than the usual pain, because he's inflicted the pain in his unconscious existence. That becomes a conscious experience now. So the cleansing act becomes even more difficult, if I were to say, because it's not easy. So it's not about whether the dying was painful. Natural also it's painful, inflicted also painful. But what's the state of mind with which he has committed suicide? Nobody can commit suicide without pain. Only in the Buddha teaching, there are few instances where Buddha has put very clearly that the bhikkhu, he had completed his journey and he slit his wrist. And the Mara comes and says that, look, your person is dying. Why don't you save him? He says that, no, he is not dying or he is not committing suicide. His Vijnana, you cannot find it. And this guy gets a desperate attempt to search his Vijnana and he couldn't find. Only in that situation, yes, we can agree. Yes, he has died. He has committed suicide on a. No, there's another bhikkhu who comes to the Buddha and says that, look, I'm ready to end. And he says, yeah, go ahead and end. And then he bursts into flames. He sits cross-legged. He sits in the sky, and not even an ash will fall down. Forget the bones, not even ash. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember one of the bhikkhu was getting Nibbana, but not quite established in Nibbana. So he's like, why don't I end so I can get into Parinibbana? So whatever. So I guess he's still, even in that case, there's still Domanassa driven a little bit.
Yes, yes.
He's so that he just finished.
Yes, so it is without Domanasa, you can't commit suicide. In Somanasa, you can never have a suicide. Yes, yes, Vipshan.
What if like someone is pretty happy? Do you think if someone kind of tries to hypnotize someone, is that a possibility of like?
No, when he is, this is one thing you had asked me, but because of this discussion, I totally forgot of hypnotization. What is being hypnotized? What is hypnotic? Hypnotic is modification. You modify somebody's psyche. So what happens here is that from the left side of the brain, which is very logical, like our friend Ariu, he keeps on putting questions in a very logical, a nice sequence, one, next, and you can predict, next he's going to come to this, next he's going to come to this, next he's going to come to this. And the more you answer, the more he starts logically putting it. But what happens when somebody is right brain centered? It's a vacant thing. It doesn't have anything called as logic. It's illogical. It is very open. It can take whatever. It's not as, what we can say, as it's something called triune brain, they call in medicine. So it's the basic brain which knows the basic needs. Okay. So the left brain knows exactly where to compartmentalize, where to sequence, how to sequence. When you hypnotic, you are disconnecting this logical sequencing ability. Or that means you're suppressing that. Even in meditation, that is what happens. You're self-hypnotizing yourself. Then what happens here is that you get out of that logic. And this openness is what you love it. Because you're tired of this small pocket full of information. I will see this only and that only. Here will hear this only and that only, like that. And you're so conditioned that you don't want to let go of it. That's what the left brain is all about. What if you're on a right brain? It's open. Especially the frontal cortex is an open, where you can have a beautiful experiences. And that's the reason they call the pineal gland as somewhere where third eye. Then they say this frontal cortex is the spiritual brain or something like that. Now, when somebody is hypnotized, it's forced on that side of the brain which has a lot of openness. So if somebody wants to do a past life regression, they have to first hypnotize the person. And then only he can make to enter into the unconscious existence. Now, when somebody hypnotizes, a girl will hypnotize through her love. This is a simple example. We'll take. Isn't he hypnotized now? You don't require abracadabra and all that, some making like this and like that. A human love, basic, is all about hypnotize. So if somebody is engaged, have you seen it? A boy meets a girl or a girl meets a boy, he is completely lost. For him, day, night, food, this, everything is her only. As soon as he gets up, hey, how are you? Where shall we meet? Okay, we have met. Okay, what dress you shall I buy you? This one, that one. Let's eat there. Let's. He's totally lost. Isn't he hypnotized? He is. Now, when he's hypnotized, can you add any sense to that? Every now and then he hugs her, he'll kiss her, or she will kiss him, whether somebody is watching. And the more they watch, the more he does. And he's on top of the world looking at his own girlfriend, but she looks sick actually. But for him, she's the best piece ever. Right? Now, such a dirty looking female, okay, could hypnotize this man for whatever reason in name of love. If you were to drug that person up or hypnotize using through some other means, you can tap into his unconscious existence and trigger the unconscious to come into the conscious. And that's it. He's lost. Why? Because no longer can he access the left side of the brain, because his direct mode network, which connects between the neurons firing and the synapse between two links, is broken. See, when somebody is in love, what happens? It goes haywire. Actually, he's rewired it in a different way. If somebody, he's sitting, he's lost. And somebody should, hey, what happened? No, nothing. Hey, come on. You said that you're in love. Yeah, that's a problem. I'm not able to sit here. I feel like going to a home. I just met her half an hour ago, but I feel I should again meet her. And this friend says, why don't you go? He says, okay, will you take care of my job? I will go. And this guy doesn't mind doing all kind of nonsense things. So he will take his card, he will give it to his friend as though he is staying in the office, because if he swipes out, his one day is gone. So he will keep it. His friend will open the gate and he'll go. He'll take his car or bike or whatever he had, meeting the girlfriend. Will he ever think anything? Because he's hypnotized. In that hypnotic state, a vehicle is coming on the other side. He can't even see that vehicle. He meets an accident. So many accidents have happened like that. So many accidents have happened in a drunken state. So many accidents have happened in a drugged up state. So many accidents have happened in a love state. So many accidents have happened in love breaking state. Right? The person feels now he is no longer of any use. All along he was thinking he is of the best use. So he was hypnotic. Now his girlfriend has said that I have found a better man. Now what happens? Just think what happens to that person. Immediately it enters into his subconscious layer, into the unconscious. And he is now negatively influenced, which is hypnotized. So now he's on a hypnotic state of depression. He imagines, which is not true. So that's the reason Buddha says, Yena yena hi manyanti tato tam hoti anyata. Whatever one manyanti takes it, considers, it becomes otherwise. Why? Because you get hypnotized. Somebody got a Nobel Peace Prize. Let's say I get Nobel Peace Prize. Am I not hypnotized? From Bangalore, I'll come to Washington, D.C., and I go to the White House, and then somebody will give me that. You just look at this preparation. After taking that Nobel Prize, But the built up, so much of built up. I'm meeting the president of America. That's hypnotic, right? What if in the nth moment they tell me that your Nobel Prize is given to somebody else? Again, get into hypnotic on a negative side now. Both are untrue. Taking that Nobel Prize itself has no value. I'm giving value to something which has no value. If I do like that, what happens? The unconscious mind starts to leave being unconscious, it becomes conscious, and that is where the defilements are. So you're removing defilement from the unconscious so that there's nothing on the surface, meaning if there is no unconscious. So all the trigger, all the influence, whether by other beings or through black magic or through drug, through alcohol or through hypnotize or by whatever means, can only happen between the subconscious and unconscious mind, not in the conscious. If you are conscious, sati, nothing can happen. So a person will not commit suicide because he doesn't have a tendency at all in the unconscious, meaning he will not go into depression. Unless a person is depressed, he cannot end his life. Or somebody should trigger that depression in him through something, some influence. Yes, sir.
Yeah, in the group chat, you talk about a question of how could we potentially help them further better. Could you talk about that as well?
Better is that you have to bring them into some kind of teaching at that moment, at their dying moment. Let's say, wait, after death also there is, but before. You can trigger him with some positive thoughts. Okay? Because in the subconscious, there is positivity. Unconscious also has positivity other than negativity. If somebody can influence so nicely, I'll tell you a case. In COVID time, there was a girl in her 10th grade wanting to give her exam, and she has been brought up by her grandfather and grandmother. Her father and mother are in another city, so they couldn't take care of her. And from the young age, from her birth, she's been brought up by her grandfather and grandmother. And she considered her grandfather as her father. And she had promised that I will get the best percentage as a gift to her grandfather. Now, in COVID, what happened is that this grandfather died of COVID. And the worst thing that happened is that they were showing on the video the grandfather before death, and this girl saw the entire thing and she felt depressed. So depressed that she wanted to end her life, thinking that when my grandfather himself is not there, what's the point of living? She stopped eating and doing all kind of things, and they took her to some psychiatrist. They could not do anything. Whereas my sister who stays in the US, she referred, she said that to her friend, and her friend spoke to this girl's father, why don't you go to his home, he will help. So they came. So this guy flew from another city, her mother is from Bangalore. They came. So they came, I spoke to her. I was giving her positive vibes. She was all along crying. So after 4 hours, she smiled once. Okay. And after that, I started talking to her normally, saying that how good is life and all that, and how, what happens. Then she asked me one question: where is my grandfather? Can you tell me? I said, he's in a very good existence. He asked me how. I said, what was he doing? in life. She said all that is how kind he was and all that. And he will be in a very good state of existence. Then I told her, if you were to commit suicide, you will be in a bad state of existence. Do you want to do that? She said, no, never. I didn't know that. And she became very happy. Now I told her, would you not pay tribute to your grandfather? She said, he's there in my heart. Now I asked her, how do you know he's in your heart? What is the proof that you want to give? And she said, how can I repay to my grandfather? I said, whatever you promised him, the percentage you're going to get in your as a grade, why don't you get him? She said, yes, uncle, I promise I'm going to do that. And as promised, she did it. If that wouldn't have happened, by now it would have been a 3rd year death anniversary. So in the last moment, if somebody can trigger positivity in that person, he will survive. This is one. Now, after that, let's say couldn't. Then what can be done? You do metta. He can still hear, he can smell. So, in deep in your heart, as a friend who has passed away, let's say he has committed suicide, and he's been your close friend or just a friend, irrespective of the condition, what triggered him or why and all that, leaving that aside, what I can do, genuinely, I can love him, genuinely, no conditions attached, no strings attached, and send metta. Like aham avero homi abhyapajo homi. First, I make my mind very kind-hearted, and then I pass it on to this friend who is in search of food. Basically, he is in search of food now, meaning he is in search of an existence. So I wish, like I was doing for Chirag's father and Chirag's sister, I do the same thing, right? I send the positive vibes to that person, saying that maybe wherever he is, because it takes 49 days for him to get a life, 7 weeks. Yes,
If he gets a human birth, that's generally how long it takes.
minimum.
Minimum. Oh, that's why they save for that long.
So in the Tibetan tradition, what they do is that they do this ritual for 7 weeks, where they keep on telling that there is a book called a Tibetan Book of Living and the Dead. Yeah, is a basis for all rituals in Hinduism. Yes, that's correct. So you can do that. Basically, there is nothing called as paraloka. There is paraloka. So if you looked at the 10 Michadikti, in that one of the thing is that no paraloka. There is paraloka. It's apara para. Para means other. Apara means no other. Right? So paraloka is like a friend has departed. It takes some days before he starts going around in search. In that time frame, I can pass merits to that person, kindness. His mind, unconscious existence, which is there in me as well as in others, gets triggered. His gati changes. So he can do that. Yeah, you wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, I'm wondering because you said once before that once the people recently passed, he would try to enter his body and go around and do those things. So roughly how long he would be in that state, staying
3 days.
like
3 days
remember
he's searching. Three days he's searching for his body, okay, to enter, and after that doesn't happen.
when does he lose the memory, slowly lose the memory of this life?
3rd day.
3rd day he loses.
He loses, just like you go to deep sleep, he goes into a deep trance. So he has no idea now. but he can hear, he can smell.
Okay.
So if you are passing something to him, he might not know you are passing it to him, but there's a calm abiding in that being, because he's no longer your friend or uncle or brother or sister or whatever it is, just another being. So you're just passing irrespective of anything. Yes, go ahead.
So minimum, like almost minimum, a person will stay around seeing them for 3 days. Almost every being that's started.
Every human, not about others, every human.
Let me ask a quick question, Jess. And then, so in these 3 days, I guess the best time to influence.
You can influence that being not to come back, like in the case of my mother. So when I was doing it, I was able to feel it, basically, not hallucinate. I was able to feel it. And when my father died, there was a lot of sadness at home. But when my mother died, it was such a happiness at the home, same house, with lot of relatives. And she died on the road. She didn't die in a hospital. She didn't die at home. She died while walking. And somebody picked up, and they called my neighbor, and the neighbor called me, and then I went to hospital just to, as a declaration, they just said that it's dead. Now I was able to see the sequence of events, how she has gone, how she has come home, what she has done, how she has tried to tell me that I'm no longer there, how she's tried to tell my brother that she's no longer there. And the rituals, whatever we were doing, I was just telling her that don't worry. And since I had a lot of things, and I mean, I had known Buddha Dhamma much better by that 2017. I was passing a metta to her, and I could basically feel what a dead person can get. So on that basis, I'm telling you, it is possible.
Shreyas, you have a question? Otherwise, I have a question.
Yeah, I do. I do. So, sir, what happens if the being is attached to, let's say, an object or somebody in that family? For example, like when you said, like after 3 days they forget, but we can see this influence being there even after, like, many days. So, how is that possible?
Now, there is one sutta where Buddha shows one ant, sorry, not an ant, a fly, is sticking to a towel or a pillow or something like that. And he says that, you know what this is? And the bhikkhus ask, what is that? He was a bhikkhu and he was having so much of affection towards that pillow that he couldn't give up. So he has come back as a fly. That's the answer to that.
So, does the fly still remember that, or is it
No,
just
no, no,
because
no. It
the
doesn't see
conditions are
it's only the
arising?
mind, it's only the unconscious
Right.
experience, right? So now that is attached,
Right.
wherever it is attached, it will go and attach there.
Okay, understood. Understood.
It might not know that, oh, I was the same bhikkhu, now has become. Only when you turn into an arhat state and you're able to remember all your lives, and then you know, oh, shucks, I was stuck into this bed for 20 lives as a bed worm or this worm or whatever it is, right?
So it's basically the raga which is pulling it there.
Yes, that's why the reason he says first you have to remove raga, dvesha, moha. Then these three things trigger back the event. See, if my mom has love or attachment for the children, the next being, if she is a human, she'll again have two children. It need not be us, but another two children, basically. Okay, that makes sense. Yes.
So in your mom's case, you saw the sequence event not as it happened, but after it happened. But you could see how he was trying to inform you when you were there, and then but at that time you couldn't see. But after that, you were able to see.
When we were in the crematorium, I was able to see. That is on
Okay.
second day of her death.
Okay, nice. And I suppose in these 3 days, they gradually give up, and then the memories start to fade away. Just kind of like you
It's
wake
like
up.
this. I'll give an example. And you're staying at your home right now. You forget to take the key and you lock the door. What happens at that moment? Just think. The same thing is happening in dead. You pull the door and you can't go back to your inside the house. The panic situation which triggers, same panic situation which triggers in a dead person. In a normal person, not to a person who is into Arya Magga, because he has understood Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vijnana, so he doesn't have much attachment to it. But for a normal person, it's like slamming the door and you don't have the key. You see the panic situation. You have to dial 1-800, and let's say your mobile is inside the house, right? And the car key is also inside the house. And your son is inside. And you are outside. Just imagine for that moment, not later. That moment, that panic situation. Going to be there for 3 days. You're panicking. Yes.
Okay, but some people are able to take it better than others, like your mom.
Can happen. That's all dependent on the mindset. And some people cannot at all.
Yeah.
So when we say haunted home, it means that they couldn't get out of it.
But only for 3 days, or for
No.
many?
They couldn't let go of it. And they couldn't
Okay,
get another body.
so this unconscious mind just hang around.
Yes, unconscious mind is moving around and moving around and moving around in that place.
Keeping the same shape as the Gandhapa or a different shape?
Gandhapa would remain the same. It doesn't matter. Only
so you
that
would
experience will remain. Only that experience will remain. So it will stick to that. Because he's not able to get a body.
So let's say after 100 days, if someone has ability to see, will he see the same Gandhapa?
Yes,
as it-
absolutely.
And what about beings who die so horribly that their body completely
Doesn't matter.
obliterated?
Gandhapa is that doesn't have any body
Yeah,
anyway.
that part's fine. But let's say this body obliterated, then he has nothing to find now, right? He doesn't even know where it is.
Whatever it is, Gandhapa will not have any change. The mental.
Yeah. This question I understand. I'm saying in this case he tried to find, but there's nowhere to be found, I guess.
What?
In the case where the person dies so much that the body is unrecognizable, and he will not be
He can
trying
recognize. No. That's not the case. It knows the smell, so don't worry about it. Each one of us have a unique smell, so you don't have to worry about it. It's like
to.
you have a unique smell in your home. So when you came to my home, Aryu, we have your smell.
Somebody got to pieces, right?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Each being has their unique scent.
This piece is me, this piece is me.
Yeah, and that is how we've been continuing, like the IP address linked to MAC address. That's correct. So
Would this happen to these animals who are killed like this? Are they also trying
every being, and that's the reason, Aryu, you can get into jhana, because you have the experience of being an abhasara Brahma. You started from there. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to do that. Any person wouldn't be able to do that.
So when we kill animals in a way that is cruel or whatever, then they are really there to try to also after that they're suffering because of that.
Yes, so that's the reason Buddha said that not to kill and eat, because you're taking their mental impression, you eat. If it died on its own or something you don't know, then it's fine. But if it is killed for you, you already have an intent, and that intention causes more damage to you, to your psyche. What we call psyche is nothing but what? It's a gandhabba, simple as that. Since there is no concept called gandhabba in English or in medicine, so we have to say it's psyche, mind. And what do you call mentality? Mentality is made out of what? The Vedana Sanya Sankhara. That's all is mentality. What else is mentality? So whoever is killing himself has a mentality, means what? He's doing a Sankhara because of the Vedana and the Sanya. And the consciousness job is to make sure that exactly experience is provided.
So these people who committed suicide, they would found out they've made a mistake after they've done it, because they're gonna see their body there. And
Nothing they can. That's what reason I told you, right? That the 9 holes getting close, nobody can do anything. It's like you locked your house permanently. Now nothing you can do about it. Yes, Egyptian.
Yeah, I've seen like a couple of places where people kind of do like hypnosis in stage where they're like perfectly happy and then they turn into a chicken or something like that. Is it also possible to influence that way to commit suicide?
There are various ways to commit suicide. There are various ways. The various one single word we can use it, that it's all about influencing. If you are influenced in a way and you believe that that's the way it is, and then your mind will take that, because from unconscious you should get into a conscious state. Simple.
And they're not depressed or anything. They're just like happy,
Yeah,
but then
they're
just
seemingly
like
happy. They're seemingly happy. See, somebody will say that if you do this ritual you'll go to heaven. Forget all about that. I'm a terrorist, so called terrorist. But how did I become a terrorist? It's because I've been influenced. I've been told that if you kill people of this kind, then God will take you in heaven. So there is a greed attached to it. Yeah, Ashutosh, hold on for a second. So there's a greed attached to it. So there's a mind. Unconsciously, I have ability to kill because I've been killing in the past. It really required a trigger, and once triggered, that unconscious becomes conscious now. Now nobody can give me any sanity, because all I can think is the heaven. That if I kill this, I will go to heaven. Let's say I kill a goat, like in the Nepal. If we go into this, what temple is that? On the way to Pokhara, Manokamna temple. There, how many animals are slaughtered? Right? Why? It will take you to heaven. You kill them, it will take you to heaven. So that kind of unconscious to conscious experience, what will you do? You'll bring goat, you will bring sheep, you will bring buffaloes, you will bring whatever you want, and then give it to the God, because God will become happy and they will help you to go to heaven. Yes. Hey, wait, are you've been asking. Let me allow Ashutosh.
So, sir, who is responsible? Suppose I have done any act under the influence of someone else, then who is responsible for my action? Who's
Chetana
going to get punished?
Chetana aham bhikkhave kammam vadami. It's my intention, I have to bear with it. Anybody can influence. I need to know it is being influenced. That knowing being influenced is
Like,
knowledge.
like I'm
Vigya.
not aware that I am getting influenced by someone else. Like in the case of black magic or something like that, I'm not aware that I am getting influenced by someone else.
That is avidya pachaya sankhara. So you are in that puti samutpada cycle. That's it. Nobody can do anything. So Chetana aham bhikkave kammam vadami. It's my Chetana. I can't blame my friend. For my suicide, I can't blame my friend or my girlfriend or my boyfriend or whatever it is. Because it's my feeling, right? Yes, are you?
So you brought the interesting case of someone commit suicide, like a suicide bomber, right? They got hypnotized into thinking heaven. So it sounds to me that in this case, at least they're not in a depressed state.
They
They're
are
almost,
not. They are
they're not.
influenced positively, so they will. But hallucination is the same.
Okay. But it sounds like they're in the positive mentality, but now they're doing an evil act. So how does that calculate?
No, the thing is like this: you will end up in depression. Either which way, when you're killing, that cruelty will catch you, so it will make you remorse.
And after doing that, you will find that you've done a mistake.
Exactly. Yes, yes, Ashutosh.
Sir, in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, there are three words: Krit, Karit, and Anumodit. Act I have done, or I have hired someone to do it on my behalf. Or I am like someone is doing something bad to someone else, and I am there and I am allowing it to happen. So in this three scenario, I am also responsible. What
Yes,
Patanjali Yoga Sutra says.
yes. That's what.
So in
Yes, go ahead.
So in the case of like I have hired someone, like if I have hired someone to go and kill someone, I am not doing it. I am not doing it, but I have hired someone. I have paid someone for this act. Like I have hired someone to go and kill someone. So I am also responsible. I am not doing it act for myself, but I am making someone else to do it. So how do you say that? Like I'm not responsible in that case?
You are. Chetana is there. Chetana aham bhikkave kammam vadami. So one single liner. Let's not see, even in the case of Buddha for animal slaughter, he says the same thing. He says that either it has been brought to you, for you can't eat. You have asked somebody to kill it, you can't eat. Right? And the third one is that it has been made in such a way that you will enjoy it, you can't eat. In the same way, if you are influencing someone, even though you are not killed it, you are still responsible for it. That means you have taken the karma. That guy who is killing it has taken. But you influencing that person, you have also taken that. You are
In the
not
same manner, So in the same manner, if someone is influencing me or someone else, like someone is doing any black magic to someone else, I know that this person is mentally weak, and I can make use of him or use of her in that case. So I'm also responsible.
Yes. See, one single Chetana aham bhikkave kammam vadami. Intention is the cause of kamma. Whatever you intend, you are taking kamma along with it.
Yes,
Whether you are
yes.
directly influencing or indirectly influencing, partially not influencing, it doesn't matter. There is a karmic force you have created. You have to bear that consequence. Yes.
That in that sense, if 10 people one tell another and then they're all having intent and they're all going to influence in similar ways.
Whatever it is, see, it is Buddha's words are very straight, they don't go in various directions. If you have an intention, you have created karma. If you have not intention, you have not created any karma. Negative intentions will cause negative karma. Positive intention will cause positive karma. No intentions creates no karma. And that is Nibbana. So, Dasa Akusala is negative intentions. Dasa Kusala is a positive intentions. Remove the negative intention, put the positive intention, and ultimately remove the intention itself. Yes, Ashutosh.
So like in the case of black magic, what we are discussing right now, how can someone use other beings, like the beings which are not visible to our eyes? So how
Why?
can someone how
No, there. So then you should read Karaniya Metta Sutta more carefully. Dhittavaya adhitta. You just because you can't see them doesn't mean that they don't exist.
So, I have read Mangal Sut also says that all the Buddhas help us like this, all that in the Buddhas of 10 direction. So we invoke that I know, but how like someone like ordinary person like in black magic, they are like
They
how
are
they
not
use other
ordinary.
beings to
No,
influence
no,
other person.
no, no, no. Number one, black magic people are not ordinary people. They are people who have learned how to do that. If you want to learn Vama Marga, you can do it. There is a coaching for that. In 42 days, you can turn yourself into a black magic person. You have to do the rituals, and then those rituals will create the tendencies for this being to get associated with you. And once those beings get associated with you, now you can demand whatever you want to demand. In fact, there is one sutta where Buddha talks about these spirits coming and talking to him. So one Brahmin asked, this what you are saying, is it said by you or experienced by you or experienced by deity or by both or by a he uses yakha. Yakha means spirit. And Buddha says it is experienced by me, it is known by me, experienced by me. This is known by the deity, which is the Deva, and experienced by the Deva. It is also known by the Yakha and experienced by the Yakha. And Yakha has come and spoken to me. It has told me in the ear. Yes.
So, sir, is there any way to know that I am under the influence of someone else, or I am doing it like it is my like if I am doing any work, anything? So, how would I know that this is all my doing, or I am doing it under someone else's influence?
Now that avijja, when it goes, you will be able to know it. But in a normal person, he cannot distinguish. Then he will know why, what he should do and what he should not do. So when the negative things are coming, he puts it on the Mara. That is how Buddha solves this problem. Otherwise, you can't solve the problem at all. So first, you have to know that there is Mara in the six senses. So then there is a fear of the other kind. So then you will come to know what actions are yours and what actions are influenced. And you will work out only on those actions which are yours and throw out those actions which are influenced. Other than that, you can't really know. Did I answer?
Because this, yes, sir, because these the people are committing suicide. The rate of suicide is getting higher.
See, suicide, stealing, sexual misconduct, everything has an internal as well as external influence. A friend can influence. Don't have to go to the ghost. A friend can influence. How can he influence? Is because I have that tendency. So can't I see that it is my friend and myself, we both are getting influenced?
So
It is.
we all have a good tendency and bad tendency
Absolutely
in that
no.
manner.
Absolutely. Let's
We
say,
all so
yes, go ahead.
so we all can commit suicide in like in some certain
Why go to that
circumstances.
extreme? So first you see whether there is a tendency or not. If somebody comes to my home and he says that, Vilas, why don't we go to this movie? Right? There is a movie. Now, you are talking about Kantara movie, Ashutosh. You don't even know Kannada, but you were talking about Kantara movie. It's a very good movie, is what everybody says. How did it
Yes,
happen?
I
Because it got influenced. Now, have I
yes.
got influenced? No. Everybody has gone and watched the movie. I have not gone. Right? And if I was to be influenced, I could have gone to the movie. By now, I would have watched the movie. And my friend would have influenced me once, but I liked the movie, so I can watch the second time also. Whether my friend comes or doesn't come, it doesn't matter. I can watch the movie for the second time. And also, I can watch for the third time. So, can't I see that I'm getting influenced? In the same way, can't I see that I can be influenced even on suicide because I have a tendency? Somebody has to influence me. That's it. As simple as that. We all have
Correct, correct.
tendencies. Yes,
And
Ashutosh.
our life is all about influences. Like for a normal person, their life is like all about influences. So they are getting influenced by someone else, and then they do things.
We are getting also
Their career
influenced.
choice, their
Ashutosh, we are also getting influenced. We are getting influenced by Buddha.
That's why Buddha said the noble friend is the entirety of the spiritual path, right?
Yes. See, we are also getting influenced. And you tell me, Ashutosh, have you not got influenced by me?
yes,
Why?
yeah, you by Osho, by SN Goenka, there are many people I admire a lot. By J. Krishnamurti.
Because two factors. Number one, you have a tendency to get influenced. Number one. Number two, you are in search for something. As long as you are in search for something, you can be influenced. If you are not at all in search of anything, nobody can influence you. So, in the case of a suicide person, he is in search of something and he didn't get it, and hence drives him towards suicide.
Shitosh, if you were actually not influential, you wouldn't have come to both Gaya in the last moment.
Exactly.
Yes, yes, what's
That's
yes.
like the highest.
Why that? See, no sane person would pay 300,000 Indian rupees to come to Bangalore and do meditation along with me. He should be an extremely insane person. In a normal person's language, if I were to tell my friends, they will laugh. Or they will say that, wow, you could influence that guy to come here to Bangalore. So, two things. He's seeking. And he's seeking. He's desperate. He's desperate. He can be influenced. A suicide
So,
person. Yes.
So in the case of me, you and Shreyas, we went to meet you. So, but there is wisdom also. Na? We can see
That
your
is
life, your
apart. See,
words, your.
that's correct. See, you see at the deeper level what it is. One taking on the positive side, another taking on the negative side, right? But in both the cases, there is seeking, there is influence. You will not be influenced if there is no seeking. I am a seeker of the Buddha, and hence I am getting influenced. Yes, Aryu.
Yeah, and your influence can only happen alongside where you're seeking, right? Let's say I'm already on Dhamma. If someone come to me and tell me, hey, this Bitcoin and all that, sending all these photos, I don't care I just block.
Exactly,
But
exactly.
people, every time they're tempted, they'll be, maybe. They'll keep getting tempted. But you've already chosen this just doesn't influence you.
Correct. So the dasa akusala removal is nothing but your influence so much that you can drop off the 10 immoral deeds, so that you can pick up the 10 moral deeds, right? It's a very positive influence, but still an influence. Why? Because jhanic bliss is far better than the sensual, and hence you don't mind getting influence, right? And because you're seeking that, if you get disheartened, what happens? You lose faith. And once you lose faith, one of the tire is now punctured. The other 3 tires cannot run the vehicle because sati is gone. We need to really see it very deeply, even on Dhamma. That's the reason with many teachers it doesn't work out, because the expectation what a student has on the teacher is not able to deliver it. Why? Because the student is seeking. He's getting influenced by the teacher because of his seeking, not the teacher is influencing him. He's seeking, he's desperate. Suicide is also a desperate attempt on the negative side. What we are doing is a positive side. and hence there is no death. Yes.
I guess no difference than a bee just will go to any flower that has a scent, right? Because that's what he's seeking, and whatever matches he latches onto.
Yes. So, what are we doing? We are aiming the deathless. It is Nibbana. That is Paramam Sukham. So, we don't mind seeking that, yes or no? And since we have that seeking ability, aren't we getting influenced? We are getting influenced by Buddha Suttas. Whoever talks Buddha, you would just go there like a bee in search of a flower. Yes or no? You're doing it. And that guy who committed suicide went on the negative side. That's it. There's nothing too much about it. Subconsciously, I had Buddha. Unconsciously, I had Buddha. It triggered. Now I am on the Buddha teaching. As became a Sotapanna, became a Sakadagami, became an Anagami. That means the unconscious existence is no longer unconscious. It is becoming more and more and more and more refined into conscious. Arhat is a complete conscious experience. There is no consciousness separate, subconscious separate, unconscious separate. It's just conscious of everything. But I had to get influence. Influence is the chanda, not raga, chanda, interest. So the person who loves an object like a girl as a chanda but turns into a raga, chanda raga. Whereas in our case, we are letting go of that chanda raga. So there is happiness. In that there is sadness. So when there is sadness, do manasa, the person will then trigger a thought from his unconscious existence to end the journey because he's not getting anything in his life. Whether triggered by somebody, triggered by drugs, triggered by alcohol, triggered by love, triggered by whatever, passion, emotion, whatever it is. Yes, Ashutosh, you had raised your hand earlier, so we have to give you a chance to ask.
I know, sir. I was just thinking about this, all these things. So, like now, what happens? Like all the time, we are getting influenced by by something or by someone. Now we are approaching towards Buddha Dhamma, but still we are getting influenced by other people. So how we should stop it?
No,
By
you
getting influenced by other person,
no, you
the
are
worldly person.
no, there's no other person. You are getting influenced. That's all. You're getting influenced. Whether other person or this person or that person doesn't matter. Now you're getting influenced. All the hours we are talking about Dhamma, so your Dhamma will take care of the other persons. When you're satisfied, meaning when the mind feels no longer seeking, okay, relief comes to you. And that relief is actually Nibbana. You're no longer carrying the burden. And that very moment, there's nothing to get influenced because you have already influenced what should be influenced, experienced what should be experienced. So you're happy. Till that happens, like Aryu, who came to Bangalore, he came seeking. We went to Bodh Gaya seeking because we want to get influenced. I still want to get influence because there are kleshas. To remove the klesha, I want the influence. The other persons are going to be there. But if my kleshas are gone, it doesn't matter who other person is there. Right? It relieves the condition. There is a relief. No negativity can be there in the subconscious existence, including suicidal tendencies, drugs, alcohol, or whatever it is. See, I used to drink. Now, if somebody drinks in front of me, nothing triggers. I've tried it. Nothing triggers. Even if they're dancing, even if they're singing, doesn't trigger. And what has happened? The lending of my voice is for looking at Rupa Vedana Sanya Sankhara Vinyana rather than thinking that I am singing. That's a change. So where did the singer come? Singer came from unconscious existence. Then it came to subconscious existence, and then came to the conscious existence. When it became a conscious existence, I wanted to have a studio of my own. I had even gone to buy equipments, including mixer and all that, and a nice, and I wanted to have an acoustic in this room. I would have spent so much of money. For what? Lending a voice. What a stupid thing. But yes, I'm influenced. Right?
You still end up getting a studio in the end.
Yes. In a better way. Right? See, this is fun. In a better way. Correct. Okay. Let's end it. It's already 10:14 here. My goodness. One suicide can take more than 2 hours. Good. One another information. Today we have a live performance from Shreyas. He is a guitarist. I didn't know that. Okay, he is a guitarist. So we are having a live performance. Vipshan, if you can join, since you are also an artist and you are a professional as well. This guy is not. He's an amateur, but you are a professional. So today, if you can join, we can have a nice orchestra created. We can even do a recording of the gathas in a different way.
Yeah, but right now my studio is occupied, so
Not
yeah,
now,
I think
not
I'll
now. We are going to do in the evening. It's not in the now. So he wants Metta Sutta. We can do that Metta Sutta. So what I'm saying is that he's coming at around 5 p.m. India time, which is 5:15 for you. So he's going to be here until 9. Even after we are going to have a meditation session. So anyway, he's going to be here. So maybe he goes home at 10 p.m. So 5 hours is going to be at my home. Okay. So anytime you feel in that, because your time, my time is only 15 minutes apart. So you can join. Yes, Aryu.
Wait, which place are you at, Vikshan? Why is it 15 minutes apart? That's weird.
Nepal.
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 Oh, you're in Nepal. Oh, nice. Very cool.
He is just above me.
Uh-huh.
I've gone to his country, so I know every place of his country. Pokhara to Nagarkot and then Muktinath.
Are you planning to visit soon?
I don't mind visiting. I want to come and meet you.
It's a
Yes,
very
please
spiritual
go.
country, right?
What's that?
It's a very spiritual place. I think
Yes.
a lot of people go there.
Yeah, there's a lot of gods and goddesses. It's like God's own country.
Yeah.
It's a fun country. So next time, Aryu, don't come to Bangalore. We'll go to Kathmandu. You can take a Everest ride, 1 hour Everest ride, and then all this. Pokhara and Muktinath, and then Nagarkot and Kathmandu, Patan, Bhaktapur. And each place is unique, beautiful. But bustling with people, nothing you can do about it. It will like another India, where with fun and frolic and colors and all that. But it's a beauty by itself.
If you decide to come, you're always. I'll arrange everything here.
No, you need to tell me when you want me to come. I can take a off of 1 week and I can come. I have no problems.
Yes. We can arrange that pretty soon.
You have to tell me, that's it. You have to just say, hey, Vilas, come for 1 week. And we can do Dhamma together, we can do recording together, we can go anywhere or whatever you have. And for your guidance, Aryu, there are very good temples, Buddhist temples there in Kathmandu.
A lot of Mahayana
Bodhnath temple is there. Then we can take you to that Swayambhunath temple. So nice ones. And if you come to Pokhara, it is even more good. Then you can go on a Annapurna hike. And Nepal is, and that's the reason I have a Nepali hat. Yeah, Vipshan, I think you.
in your picture, right? You have a Nepali hat.
Yes. That was taken in Bhaktapur.
Oh, okay.
After I quit the IT job, I started a tourism business, and then I got the first customer in 2015. We had gone for a travel show, and then some guys came, and then I was selling Nepal. So I told them that why don't we go to Nepal? And then I flew to Nepal with these guys. So I made friendship with them. So then they were no customers per se. And I have one friend in Nepal who does the all the travel arrangements. Okay, so he and I are very close. So now he does business. I don't do business, but initially I had planned to do business. So I did one business, and that's it in Nepal, because I felt that place is filled with spirituality. So I had a lot of experiences in Nepal.
So where in Nepal you live, Guksha?
Was that? Okay. Sorry for him.
I live in Lalitpur, which is joined with Kathmandu, so it's almost like the same state. So it's the capital itself.
I've been to Kathmandu.
You have?
I mean, I love Nepal.
Yeah.
I have visited Nepal many times.
Really? Which place have you been to? Like in Kathmandu?
I have been to Pashupatinath Mandir. See, I live nearby Jogbani. You heard the name of Jogbani? I'm like the Nepal border. So I am from Forbesganj, so it is like just 15 kilometers from here.
From his
Nepal.
house, from Ashutosh's house, Nepal border is stone throw away.
Oh, okay.
So in fact, he can reach Nepal much faster than any one of us.
So I have done many courses in Nepal, like Vipassana course, so many Vipassana courses in Nepal.
Yeah, there are a lot of Vipassana courses here. Yeah,
Yes.
some of my relatives also do Vipassana courses, but I've never done it. But yeah, I've heard them talk about it a lot.
Okay, so we can do something. You let me know in October, November, whatever. That time frame is very good in Nepal.
It's
So
good for you.
you can let me know, and I can fly.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
Bangalore, we have a direct flight to Kathmandu.
Oh, that's even better. Yeah. So yeah, somewhere around October, November would
Yeah.
be good.
After Dasara, because it will be Nepal will be crowded in Dasara season, and I'll come after that.
Yeah, yeah. The weather is going to be good too.
Yeah, very good, very good. In during that time frame, it won't be too cold nor hot. It'll be nice, so we can do meditation together and all that.
Yes, definitely.
And if Aryu can again make a tour of Nepal instead of India, he can. And Ashutosh, he can just take a bus ride to Kathmandu. Takes 18 hours journey, and he is in Kathmandu. Okay, all right. Almost 10:30, 2 hours.
But it's good that we have discussed all these things about suicide. So now we can help others also. And
What's that?
I think what I'm saying, it's good that we have discussed this crucial topic of suicide, because the rate of suicide is like increasing day by day.
Yes.
It's good that we know all the aspects what Buddha says about it.
True. So let's end today's journey without suicide. So let's have a nice life ahead. And those who have committed suicide, let them find their good place, because suicide is one thing which brings bad things instantly, because it takes on the unconscious existence to a conscious without being prepared. So Buddha, generally, if you look at all his suttas, where he changes the person's psyche such a way that with or without suicide, it is the same. That is deathless. So when the person turns arhat, means that there's nothing called a subconscious and unconscious existence. And when the unconscious is not there, released, so it doesn't really matter any longer, because there is no expectation and there is no influence by any deity or by goblin or by demon or by himself or whatever it is, or by drugs, alcohol, or whatever it is. There's no influence. And his seeking has ended as a beauty. Seeking ends, influencing ends. So he's happy. Nibbanam paramam sukham. And hence, he has already ended the journey. It's only the physical body which is existing. Journey is ended. It doesn't matter whether he is committing suicide or doesn't commit suicide. That's same. In this particular case, the person is committing suicide with an expectation of something to work. But since he has taken the negative tendency in the unconscious existence, the pain is what going to trigger in his next life. So what we can do for all those who have committed suicide is to apply the balm, apply the paste of where his pains can be reduced through metta, karuna, mudita, upekha. Yes, Haryu.
Last quick question, since you've been discussing this. Suicide, does it have a tendency to cut your human bhava short? Or
No.
you would like to keep your human
No,
bhava?
no, no, no. It's like this. Human bhava, till whatever time frame it has to come, it will come, irrespective of whether he has committed suicide or a natural death or whatever. If he is taking a human birth again, he will be in the more painful position than what earlier it was, because he has the tendency. So he's carrying the tendency again. It's a tendency, right? It's an influencing factor again. And that is what is have to be removed.
Yeah, because in Chinese or some tradition they say if you commit suicide you will go to hell or something. But it's not that bad, but it's pretty bad.
No, your life will be hell even if you are a human being. See what happens. Nothing works for that person when he is born as a human, which triggers that same response. It's a continuous process. And we can see the dukkha, how hard it is for that person. So we can only apply metta to whoever has departed through sight. Okay. All right. Good day. Good night, Aryu. Thanks for your time and thanks everyone.